Hey everybody, I hope you're having a great day today. We're going to dive into the topic of MTHFR today, and it's something that used to be viewed as having a bigger impact than it does now, but it's still something that I get asked about all the time. Is this something that I need to have checked? Is it something I should be concerned about? And, what do I do about it? And that's what we're going to dive in today in this video. So I'm Dr. Jeff Cumro, and really what I do is I help people improve their brain and their bodies to better counteract the effects of stress, learning disorders, and things like that. So, over the past 10 years, really pushing 15 years now, I've had the pleasure of working with thousands of people and helping them, move their health in a better direction. And that's something that has brought a lot of question. There's a lot of different questions have been asked in that time, and some things are easier to answer than others. When we look at MTHFR, it used to be viewed as a really big deal. There for a while, they were looking at it as a cure for autism, right? They were saying if we fix this MTHFR, then autism goes away. And we now know that that's not the case. It's something that does have an impact. Those with autism usually have the MTHFR marker, but there are a lot of other things that commonly have it as well. ADHD commonly has it, especially types 2 and 3. You commonly see it in OCD, tic disorders, you commonly see it in autoimmunity. So there are different things that come around that commonly have this. And there's still a lot of people that want to know, is this something that I need to pay attention to? Because they go online and they see this correlation. And it's something that I don't test for as frequently anymore. But the reason I don't test for it is because we can make an extrapolation and assume that it is there in most cases. Is it worth the bang for the buck? Maybe, maybe not. Let's dive into why. So just a little history here. Most of you know, or many of you probably know, that back in the day, I had autoimmunity. When I was 23 years old, I got diagnosed with Hashimoto's thyroiditis. And there are a lot of things that I now see leading up to that didn't really help my condition, right? So I always had difficulty gaining weight. And the only way that I could possibly gain weight was to take creatine. And we're going to dive into this here in just a moment on why all this worked. But when I took creatine, I would actually be able to put on some muscle and gain some weight. Now, my thyroid would go crazy, and I would lose some of that weight, and then I'd gain some of it back, plus a little bit, and then it would come back. And that's the only way that I could ever put on any weight. But it's more than that, right? So the methylation has more to do than just one thing. And if I would have seen the impact, if I would have known that I had that and why everything was working, I may have been able to avoid that autoimmunity entirely. And hopefully, you're watching this and you're saying, you know what, I see some signs here, and maybe this is what my child has, maybe this is what I'm facing, and I don't want to lead into that. So that's my hope out of telling you this story. So when we look at the MTHFR epigenetic marker, there are different types. You get the CC, you get the CT, and you get the TT. And the TT decreases enzyme activity significantly. They say around 60% decrease in activity. The CC activity is decreased by 30%. Now, what does all of that mean? Most people are going to look at this and say, you have trouble with methylation. And it would be 100% accurate in saying that. Other sites will look at this and say, you have difficulty in folate metabolism. So you are going to process folate in a little different way than the average person. We need that folate for different things. For example, brain and nerve maintenance and growth is going to be an important part of this. And both of these are important when we look at them, right? Because like I said, if you don't have enough of that nutrient, then it's difficult to change the brain. It's difficult to, make the progress that you want to make. So we ultimately have to look and see, are we able to make that nutrient and process it properly to get the outcome that we want? But the other side of this is the methylation. And the reason that creatine helped me when I was in those situations is creatine does about 3 things methylation in general does 3 things, but the creatine is going to help supply some of this stuff. When we have methylation issues, we have difficulty making creatine in the system. Creatine is an energy source, right? So I didn't have the energy to actually build the muscle. I was using all my energy and diverting it to stress and all that other stuff because I just didn't have enough of it. So once I actually increased my creatine, through supplementation, I had enough to go through and do that, plus a little left over to where I could actually build muscle and maintain my body. So that's ultimately the reason that creatine helped me. Methylation also goes through and it makes phosphatidylcholine, which is an important part of the cell membrane. If you don't have that, it's difficult to have proper cell function. Another important part of autoimmunity, right? If we don't have proper cell function, then we don't detoxify, we don't get nutrients in, we don't get waste products out, we don't do all of these things that should be going on within our system the way that we are supposed to. And then the final aspect of this is methylation, the other 10% of it. So it's 45, 45, and 10% is basically the breakdown. 45% of it goes to creatine, about 45% of it goes to phosphatidylcholine. The other 10% of it goes to the maintenance of the methylation, so the epigenetic part of it. So epigenetics are affected. Now the epigenetics, as we've talked in previous videos, are an important aspect to this. As we make good lifestyle choices, we're more likely to turn on those good epigenetic markers that are going to express health. As we make those lifestyle choices that harm us, they turn on bad epigenetic markers. They turn off some of those good ones, and we're more likely to progress toward disease. This is the reason that I ended up with autoimmunity. Before that, I probably would have ended up with poor digestion and different things that I had experienced growing up. Poor sleep, poor digestion, I didn't grow, different things like that. My energy wasn't always there. Instead, after I was running through all that methylation, I was making the energy to actually deal with stress and sustain my body, and I didn't have that left over to make those changes on the epigenetic markers that I should have. That's why I progressed into autoimmunity. So ultimately, what can you take out of this? The important thing to take out of this is it important to know this? Yeah, it's good to know this. Many times, like I said, we can extrapolate. So if you're on a tight budget, there may be other things that are more important than this marker, but having a good idea that it's there, knowing that it's there, and taking action to kind of counteract some of this can be very important. What does the average person do, or the average clinician do, when somebody has an MTHFR marker? They give them methylated B vitamins. Those methylated B vitamins, do have some effect. It's something that can be very good. Something that would be even better would be trimethylglycine. That glycine is very, very important, not only in the maintenance of the body, but it's also important for sleep and different things like that as well. And you have a much more, it's a much more intense impact on everything else if you do have that trimethylglycine. So it's a better version than the methylated B vitamins. Next step up would be to take some creatine. Why creatine? If you have the creatine in your system, then it's important, like it helps to save some of those other methylations. So if you have the creatine in your system, you don't have to use your methylation to make creatine. So you can make some of that methylation into phosphatidylcholine to maintain your cell membranes, or you can take it and you can use it to maintain your epigenetic expression, right? So you can maintain that health. So it ultimately saves them rather than going through and supplementing. So doing a little bit of both would probably be your best output. Now, this is not medical advice by any means, right? You need to talk to your doctor, your practitioner, whoever you work with on that to make that diagnosis. But this is what I do for myself, is I use a little creatine because that creatine helps to minimize the amount that I burn through. I take B vitamin with trimethylglycine in it. That helps to restore some of that other methylation to give me the extra boost that I need. So all of these things probably would have been something that would have helped me move away from that diagnosis of autoimmunity instead of continuously rolling toward it. But it's something I didn't know at the time. So if this is something you are concerned about, if this is something that we need to have a conversation on, by all means, I love talking health. It's one of my favorite things. My wife will tell you she finds it quite annoying, but I mean, this stuff just fascinates me. So if you have questions and you want to know where you're at, what you need to do and where we need to go, by all means, let me know and we can dive in from there. If you do find this information helpful and you don't want to talk further, please like or subscribe. It gives me good information about what you guys find helpful and what we can do to help get you from A to B. So I love you guys. I appreciate you. I hope you have a phenomenal day, and I'll catch you next week on the next video.